everyone and welcome. My name is Christine, and in today's video I'm going to talk about 13 things that I wish that people knew about living with my rare illness. The things in this video are going to be pretty much focused on things that I have gone through with my own illness, but I'm sure that most of the things that I list here probably can also be related to several other types of chronic illnesses out there. I hope this video is helpful for anyone out there that has a loved one who has a chronic illness and you're just trying to get a better understanding of what they're going through, and total props to you for watching this. Or maybe you are the person with the chronic illness and sometimes it is just nice to hear of somebody that can relate to the things that you are going through. When I was 16 years old, I was diagnosed with CVID, which stands for Common Variable Immune Deficiency, which is a form of a primary immune deficiency. Because CVID is listed as a rare illness, I find it very hard to find other people that truly understand what it is that I am going through. And I almost find it harder to find people that even want to attempt to understand what it is that I am going through living with CVID. So here's my list of 13 things that I would like people to know about living with my rare illness. A lot of people have never heard of it. CVID is also something that they call an invisible illness, which means you can't tell just by looking at me that I'm sick. This is a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing in the sense that I get to choose who I share this information with, but it's a curse because it's very hard for people to understand that you're sick when they can't physically see what's going on with you. I do everything that I do. It is always going to be a factor in my decisions. I am tired literally almost all of the time. Chronic fatigue is one of the biggest complaints I hear from patients that have CVID. When I mention being tired, or when people can see that I'm tired in my face, they often assume that I was out late last night or I just had trouble sleeping. Usually that's not the case. Usually I did indeed get a good night's sleep. I am just always tired, even if I do get a full 8 hours of sleep. Now, the fatigue is something that I have noticed an improvement on in this past year, and there are some things that I have done that I think have factored in improving my fatigue. I may or may not do a video on this, I'm not quite sure yet. A chronic illness is extremely time consuming. Not only do I spend so much time waiting in doctor's offices, waiting in hospitals to get tests performed, I have to spend a lot of time making these phone calls to these doctor's offices and booking appointments. And it's not always convenient because I work in direct patient care. I cannot be on the phone. And what are the office hours of a lot of these offices? During the times that I'm in the middle of patient care and I can't call them. You also have to remember that we have to make phone calls for prescription authorizations, problems with insurance. Oftentimes, when you make these phone calls, you get put on hold, and sometimes it's for a really long time, and you're like, I don't have the time right now to sit here and wait on hold. Like, I'm in the middle of work. I can't be on hold for 20 minutes to deal with this. A lot of times I joke that I really need a personal assistant just to manage all of the medical stuff that I have to deal with. Even just this week, I waited over 2 hours past the scheduled time of somebody to come pick up the Sharps box at my house. I also have to spend time every single week doing my infusion, and you know, it really makes it feel like the week goes by super fast when I'm just like, gosh dang it. It is already time to infuse again. Where did the last week go? There's a lot of things to manage when you have a chronic illness. I can't always do everything that it is that I want to do because I deal with so much fatigue and I have to spend all of this time dealing with all this medical stuff that I have to deal with. I'm not always able to go out and do the things that I would like to do. Sometimes I have to say no to plans, or I have to cancel plans because I'm not feeling well or because I really just have to catch up on sleep. Having CVID means that my energy levels can really fluctuate day to day, and some days I feel great and some days I feel like crap. But that doesn't mean that I want to stop being invited to things. Please keep inviting me to things. I do want to still be included. Sometimes something just has to give. It is a lonely place to be. Having a rare illness means there aren't that many people that get it with what I am going through. Often, I feel very alone in this battle. I wish there was more people out there that would just get it, or that I could talk to and understand some of the things and some of the struggles that I go through while having CVID. And the internet can definitely help you find other people and make you feel like you are less alone in dealing with this. But I do tend to use some caution with these internet forums, because sometimes I almost feel like on the internet, it becomes like this battle of who's sicker, and it's not supposed to be like that. We are supposed to be there to support one another and have someone that can talk to that's actually going through what we're going through. I am also a part of a support group through the Immune Deficiency Foundation that we meet in person, and I would definitely recommend a support group for anyone that is just trying to find someone to relate to with what they're going through with their illness. I have to inject myself with medication for the rest of my life. CVID has no cure. Every single week, I have to inject myself subcutaneously with immune globulin to stay healthy and ultimately stay alive. It takes about 90 minutes of my time a week, and I don't really like doing it, but it keeps me healthy and it's what I need to keep going. I have to make sure that I have this scheduled to be done every week. Yes, I do have some leeway on when I can do it. I can do it a little early or a little late, but ultimately it has to be done. There is no other treatment for CVID. There is no cure. There's no discontinuing this medication. I am going to be on this for the rest of my life unless they do find a cure at some point in my life. But, right now, I'm not holding my breath. My medication has side effects. I have to deal with these side effects whether I like it or not. If I don't hydrate enough for one of my infusions, I can get a pretty bad headache the following day and just feel really crappy. My medication also has we're going into kidney failure. Those are not the kind of side effects that you really want from your medication, but I don't have much of a choice. I need this medication to stay alive. But I do also have to know that by being on this medication, I am at these increased risks. I have had it in the past where I had to be discontinued on a certain brand of my medication because it was pulled due to people having increased blood clots with the medication. I also have had an allergic reaction in the past where I stopped breathing in the middle of my treatment. Thankfully, I have been pretty good on the brand that I have been using for a few years now. I just can't wear contacts or makeup. I cannot even tell you the number of times I have heard someone say to me, "Oh, you would just be so beautiful if you put on some makeup, or maybe if you just got rid of those glasses and used some contacts." I get it. Thank you for the advice. I don't want to hear it. I can't wear makeup. I can't wear contacts. I wore contacts for many years growing up. For whatever reason, my eyes decided to start reacting towards them, and I just can't tolerate it. Since I had discontinued contacts, I have probably tried to go back to them 2 or 3 times. I've tried different brands. I've tried the daily lenses. Ultimately, the same thing ends up happening. My eyes just react to them. I can't tolerate wearing them all day, and I end up having to pull them out of my eyes before it's even lunchtime. And to me, that's just not worth it. The same thing goes with makeup. If I put on a lot of eye makeup, I feel it. Then I just, look worse than I ever did in the first place without the makeup. So I just choose to not wear makeup and wear glasses. And really, these aren't that big of a problem with me. It seems to be a problem with so many other people, and I just don't understand why. I wish that I could have this nice makeup on that I see other people wear, but you know, it is what it is. Healthcare reform in the United States scares the crap out of me. For a while, I felt like every other month there was something in the news about a new bill or a new law that they were trying to pass that dealt with healthcare reform and that took away some of the protections that the Affordable Care Act provided me with. Whenever it seems that I've dodged a bullet, that one law did not get passed, it just seems to be there's always another one right around the corner that I have to hold my breath and hope that it works out into my favor in the end. The fact that this law can change to the point where someone like me dealing with a pre-existing condition could not get healthcare coverage or could have very expensive coverage or limited coverage is really petrifying, and it makes me very unhappy that we have to deal with this in this country. Not only do people with these illnesses have to deal with the emotional toll of going through this illness, we also have to be worried that we might not be able to get healthcare coverage to pay for our treatments for the illness that we have. And that is just ridiculous. My medication is unfortunately on the pricey side. If I didn't get my medication, I would ultimately get sick to the point where I would definitely have a decrease in my quality of life and I would not be able to work, which means I would not be able to pay taxes. It eventually would take my life. I know my body and my health better than you do. One thing that I cannot stand is just that unsolicited advice that I get from other people. Well, have you just tried taking more vitamin C? Have you thought maybe you should just exercise more? Have you thought about just trying this insert pyramid scheme product that I'm trying to sell and probably will have no health benefits to you, but yes, it is going to cure your immune deficiency? If these ideas worked, trust me, my insurance would not be paying for my medication. My medical decisions are made between me and primarily my immunologist. I don't need the advice from somebody that has never heard of this immune deficiency. Because of my immune deficiency, I do have to get blood work pretty often, which I think can be a good thing because I am always kind of updated on how my health is going. Knowing someone who has passed away from complications of the same illness that you have is heartbreaking and extremely scary. I have had 2 friends who have passed due to complications of CVID. It is always heartbreaking to lose a friend or lose somebody that you know. It is even scarier seeing someone lose the same battle that you are currently fighting through in this present day. I want to live my life to the fullest. Because I have CVID and I know things could eventually get worse than how I have it now, I want to make sure that I go out and I enjoy my life. I don't want this illness to keep me down. Not only is it because I have CVID that I feel this way, but also because I am a physical therapist in an inpatient rehab unit, and I see some horrible things happen to people even when they're still young. I still want to travel. I've continued working in a hospital. I want to go out and do the things that I want to do despite the fact that I have CVID. And ultimately, I want to make sure I do these things before it ever gets to the point that I can't do these things. I refuse to live in a bubble trying to protect myself from every little germ that I might encounter. wish I knew what it was like to be normal. I wish I didn't know all the ins and outs of dealing with insurance companies. I wish I didn't have to make all these doctor's appointments. I wish I didn't have to infuse myself. I wish I didn't have to follow up with all this medical stuff and get this blood work done. And I wish I just knew what it was like to be normal and not have to deal with all of this stuff that I have to deal with day in and day out due to having CVID. I wish that I could just live my life and not have to consider how my CVID is going to impact any major decision that I make. Some days I just sit and wish that I could just wake up and not have to deal with it anymore. And sometimes I really just get jealous of other people that don't have to deal with what I'm going through. That is my list of things that I wish people knew or would try to understand about me living with CVID. I'd like to add that I don't routinely like to complain about my CVID or discuss my struggles with people. Ultimately, I want to try to keep a positive, upbeat attitude about my life. And I know that I'm very thankful. And yes, it can definitely be worse than what I deal with. And there are a lot of people that have it way worse than I deal with. My intent is to not increase attention to myself or for people to necessarily feel bad for me. I just wish that there would be more people to attempt to understand what it is that I have to go through with living with CVID. That's all that I have for today. Until next time, bye!